so as you know from all my storytime videos talking about my diagnosis and how my bipolar went undetected for years, I am really passionate in educating everyone on what bipolar actually is so more people can get treatment, get helped. This video is just 5 signs of bipolar that no one talks about that are actually extremely evident in how it manifests. If you're brand new to my channel, I've made over 50 videos talking about bipolar disorder and depression, mental illness, all of that. I'm gonna link the playlist to all of those videos up in the cards and below. So if you wanna watch more videos about bipolar, those will be super helpful. Number 1, memory problems. So the essence of bipolar is being outside of reality when you're either in a depression or a manic episode or a mixed state. This state of outside of reality really messes with your short-term and long-term memory. When you're in depression, you literally cannot recall words or think of what to say. I made a super in-depth video, signs of depression, but I feel like this is just something you constantly experience where you have this sense that you know where to access the information you want to say, but you just are incapable of getting there. In mania, you can perfectly express yourself in these vivid, intricate ways, but instead, I find that the outside of reality while manic is that I'll forget what was said seconds or minutes ago. It's almost like your brain is not recording memories and you're only living in the present and the past doesn't exist. Mania and hypomania literally feels outside of time in a different realm than everyone around you. And so you're physically incapable of remembering all that has been going on. There's a part of the brain in the very back of your head called the hippocampus, and it's one of the first parts of the brain that begins to shrink and become damaged in depression. The hippocampus converts short-term memories into long-term memories, which explains why after a really long, intense depression episode, you'll have memory blanks of the entire time. Like you will not be able to remember what happened. So a friend will mention some huge event that happened in the past year, and initially I'll have no memory, like nothing will come to me when trying to think of what they're referring to. It creates a huge identity crisis where I don't remember most of 2 years of my life. Same thing when you're manic, you will have complete lapse, not able to remember anything that happened. The only way to remember in situations like this is if you write down every day what has happened, or you take pictures and you can look back at what you wrote, look back at pictures. Friends can remind you what happened, and then a lot of times it will come back to you. I feel like if it's intense mania though, you can recreate the memories in your mind, but it's permanently gone. Which is why I journal constantly, take notes of everything. When people are talking to me, when I'm on the phone, I take notes of what someone is saying, or I know I will forget that it ever happened. I made an entire video talking about memory loss and brain damage in bipolar. I'm gonna link it right here. If you can at all relate to the feeling of being outside of reality, then you could be bipolar or experience depression. Number 2, intense relationships, then cutting people off. So I think that bipolar affects your social life in the worst way possible. And these are patterns embedded into me that I can trace all the way back to when I was in high school. I find that in general for me with romantic relationships, also all of my friendships, there'll be this intensity of immediately clicking, immediately best friends, vibing so well and knowing each other's souls almost. The first time I meet someone, the first conversation, it happens a lot. But then the problem with this is you can also move on from people extremely fast. I always just cut people out of my life, friends, family, relationships. Obviously, I'm not proud of this. I think it's a horrible thing how I don't miss people, can just forget about people. I promised myself at the beginning of this year that I wouldn't cut anyone off, and it's November, and 3, kind of 2.5 people I cut off, a 4th I was definitely considering it. This is just connected to number 1 in that because you have memory loss, you can have an entire experience with someone and then immediately forget it. So in college it was really common that I'd be talking to a guy, really into him, and then within a couple months forget what his name was and it wouldn't even affect me at all. I was talking to a guy over this summer and I cut him off and I just forgot everything that happened because I was sort of manic at the time, outside of reality, so my brain had just not been recording the memories, so I literally forgot. And just also going along with this, I've talked to a lot of people who are bipolar, know people who are bipolar, gotten hundreds or thousands of comments and messages all about bipolar relationships, and it's extremely common to be super infatuated, so into the person so early on, and then impulsively break up or cut off. The other person is really confused why the other person is ending the relationship. That's just extremely common, to be so intense, then cut someone off with little explanation. The reason this happens is because of the cycling of the mood episodes. Even if it's small cycles, there's this extreme mania type infatuation and then emotional detachment where you feel absolutely nothing, don't care. And sorry, I'm smiling right now talking about this. Obviously, I don't like this. It's horrible. I cry about it a lot, but I kind of laugh at myself sometimes to just get through it. A couple weeks ago, I made a video about relationships when you're bipolar and just all my advice, because you'll be so in love with someone, then the next day, wake up in the morning, feel nothing towards them, and it's just kind of hilarious when you think about it. Just the idea of how it's a switch going off in your brain towards relationships, towards people in your life, how you can go from caring so intensely that it's overwhelming that you cry because you feel so much emotion to feeling no emotion. It's crazy. Number 3, extreme pride or thinking you're better than everyone else. The scientific term for this is grandiosity, and it's a symptom of mania. A lot of people can struggle with pride as a spiritual issue, but I experience grandiosity in smaller dosages quite a bit. When you're more manic, it's this huge confidence boost where you think you're so intelligent and attractive and interesting. In a lot of ways, this can be a positive thing. There have been a lot of situations in my life where it's pushed me to reach out to people and to not be scared of trying anything. It causes you to be funnier, more entertaining, to pursue things you're really passionate about and to make things happen. But it's way more intense than that. It's this superiority thing intertwined in your thinking. When you are outside of reality and your mind is sped up so fast, you have all this interconnected thinking and all these spiritual, emotional epiphanies about the world, and other people don't have those epiphanies, and so you just feel like you're stronger and faster. It feels like I'm living in a higher realm than everyone else, where I see these insights into how people work or how God is. I've written 100 pages in one weekend, just been writing for 10 hours straight before when I've been like this, because my mind is so awake, and so it makes you feel like you're better than other people. And then it also is like you can feel other people's emotions, and so you feel like you're above other people because you can figure them out and control them. Because your mind is so sped up, it is that you can see details and subtleties that you couldn't see before, and so you understand how people work, how to control people, get them to feel or think different ways. It can manifest in extreme manipulation, or it can manifest in being able to understand people really well, giving emotional support, helping people feel known. But it can be awful too. People who are bipolar can be extremely manipulative, get into other people's minds, get everyone to hate one person. I mean, you can use it as a weapon. Number 4, having extreme empathy. I've talked about this a lot in my channel, but I find that professionals tend to ignore it. I actually had one psychiatrist straight up tell me that empathy is not a part of bipolar, but I recently read a study that proves otherwise. I'll link it below, but this is a study from 2015. They had 2 groups of people. One group had just regular depression, unipolar depression. The other group had bipolar. And they showed them different emotionally evoking images, and they asked them one time to let themselves feel with the image, the second time to intentionally become disconnected from it, so to not feel as a part of the image. And the group that had bipolar, when they were in depression episodes, also when they were just not in an episode, it was extremely difficult for them to disconnect from the image. Like, they automatically felt with the image stronger than the control group that just had depression. If you're interested in the actual study, they used something called an fMRI, which is functional magnetic resonance imaging. It showed that the part of the brain called the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, it was extremely hard for people with bipolar to control that part of their brain. And it kind of makes sense that people with bipolar would have an empathy problem. I mean, I think, again, this can be a gift or a curse, however you utilize it. My empathy is so strong. I cry so much when natural disasters happen, when I hear stories about strangers. It's this extreme debilitating curse on my life sometimes, but also I'm able to feel so close to other people because I feel their emotions. I'm able to help people a lot, so it's also a really positive thing. But it totally makes sense to me that people with bipolar have a huge empathy, because the mood stabilizer drugs, a lot of them that we use, like Lamictal, Trileptal, they're also used to treat people who have seizures. And so they kind of calm down the neurotransmitters from firing too fast. We have this overexcitability going on in our brain that causes us to go into depression or to go manic. It also causes us to go into extreme empathy mode. And so if you feel with other people in this intense way where you just feel crazy because other people don't feel that strongly with strangers or with photographs. And it also relates to number 2, where I was talking about how you'll fall so fast and become best friends with someone or want to date someone so fast. It's because you feel so close to people. You know other people's souls. You feel intertwined with them. You feel their emotions as though they are your own. And so that's why you're able to feel close to people so fast. Number 5, food issues and eating disorder type behavior, except you don't have an eating disorder. This is how I was first diagnosed with major depression back in 2015. I just stopped eating, had zero appetite, and I did not understand why. So I went to talk to a therapist thinking that I had some strange type of eating disorder. In the DSM qualifications for diagnosing a manic or depressive episode, they act like you have to lose weight or gain weight, but what I found is my weight never changes at all, but it's more of just my metabolism going up and down. So even though I didn't know I had bipolar until my senior year of college, I've been able to trace slight episodes going all the way back to my freshman year. So my first semester of college, there was this huge change in my appetite where I would have 2 full plates of dinner every night, and it was kind of an inside joke with my friends. They thought it was some weird quirk going on in my body, but it was this sudden change where suddenly my body was demanding so many more calories. And all of that was coinciding with a lot of other hypomanic symptoms at the time. Bipolar is constantly changing and adapting in how it manifests, so the past couple years when I'm manic, I'll have no appetite at all, and it's almost like I feel superhuman and don't need to eat or sleep that much and can have tons of energy, which is actually more common to feel like you want to eat no food rather than a ton of food when you're manic. But in depression, it can be up or down. Some people eat a ton of food when they're depressed. I have no appetite, no desire to eat when I'm in depression. I have to always force myself to eat. But just in how my bipolar manifests, I'll notice that sometimes I'll have a binging type thing going on because I'll eat no food when I'm manic or in depression, and then my body will be starving after that happens. So if you're having these extreme metabolism changes for no reason, it's not related to any sort of thyroid problem, then you may be experiencing depression or mania. Eating a really healthy diet, I am a plant-based vegan. I eat tons of healthy carbs. I make sure to eat 3 meals a day, be eating about the same types of foods every day, eating enough and eating consistently, working out every day, and getting 9 hours of sleep, drinking enough water, and of course taking my medicine are the things that I do to keep my body healthy and my brain balanced. Again, go check out my bipolar playlist to watch all my videos I've made about bipolar. I hope this video was super helpful in understanding it more. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!
And I've been quiet for too long. I found peace in your vibe.